Just over a week ago, there was a story that broke from Kotaku and Jason Schreier talking about the development of not this upcoming year's Call of Duty from Infinity Ward, but instead the year after that in 2020, which theoretically is the next installment from either Sledgehammer or Raven. But this report alleged that in fact that wasn't the case, and instead it would be Treyarch returning in just a year after releasing and supporting the current year of Black Ops 4, supported by both Sledgehammer and Raven. So it was a bit of a curveball there, but Jason Schreier has an outstanding track record, and so therefore this kind of came as a bit of a bombshell to the entire COD community. But as this came as a shock to many, and we've already broke down the entire story in depth right after it happened, actually a week ago today, but the one part that I'm still trying to grapple with is that it was reported, and I quote, "Internally, Activision executives have started to talk about embracing free-to-play as a revenue model, and 3 sources say are looking into offering a free-to-play component for this year's new Modern Warfare, although specifics may not be finalized yet." That is a very, very bold statement, especially given how we know Call of Duty has worked in the past few years. So today I want to break down how this could possibly fit, how it could ultimately be that piece of the puzzle that may end up getting confirmed in a short period of time, but I'm going to give you guys my thoughts here on how it could work to begin with. Because as mentioned, Jason Schreier ends up having a great track record, so I'm almost inclined to believe that this could actually be a reality. It just seems so crazy that I want to theorize about how it could fit into all of this. So that said, firstly, I end up seeing this breaking down into 3 different options that could explain the free-to-play component. The biggest one that I think is the most likely is that of Blackout continued support. Now, I want to preface this with a theory of mine that is full transparency, has no information behind it that confirms nor denies, but simply is an educated guess as to Blackout going free-to-play towards maybe the summer period to prep for the next Infinity Ward release. But also, it wouldn't surprise me if they continue it alongside it, and it gets support either as its standalone Blackout that we see now with some seasonal events that happen every so often, some changes to the map, some new POIs added in, but ultimately it just stays there. Or it could be something it runs in conjunction with Infinity Ward's upcoming title this fall, in which, well, maybe it's a battle royale portion with some Modern Warfare themed skins in it, maybe not developing the entire mode, but maybe Infinity Ward ends up developing a map for it. So we say end up revisiting the one theory we've had months ago and discussed at this point, where you kind of boot up Blackout and you have the ability to jump into either the Treyarch end or the Infinity Ward end, the Black Ops themed map or the Modern Warfare series themed map. I don't know if that's actually the case, but where this comes from is that it's a hell of an undertaking to create an entire mode like that. So who knows, maybe we do end up seeing the standard 3 modes of campaign, MP, and co-op for this upcoming Infinity Ward title, but maybe we also see the addition to which the BR is a standalone thing that is kind of that extra 4th content edition each year, where it goes on and progressively transcends whatever game it was initially intended for, that being Black Ops 4, and continues on throughout the years. Now this to me seems the most likely of the bunch that we'll discuss, not necessarily that it ends up taking assets from whatever series is currently on deck, but that it's its own standalone thing. Not only has Blackout gone free to play for short durations of time multiple times throughout the year of Black Ops 4 already, it also has the most longevity potential of any of the current modes in the gaming industry right now that Call of Duty has to offer. I don't know if I'd necessarily say we're still on the upswing of BRs or battle royales in the gaming industry, but they're still prominent, no doubt, and depending on who you ask, it could make a dent in the market share if it weren't for that entry barrier of $60-ish. I've said it before, and personally, Blackout is one of my favorite, if not my favorite BR on the market. It reminds me of a more polished PUBG and a proper tactic-based BR, piggybacking off of some of the things that needed fixed with the prime of H1Z1, and then retaining that familiar Call of Duty feel. For me, hero-based BRs like Apex, architecture simulators like Fortnite, and other entries into the BR genre have fallen flat for me, but Blackout, it's just up to me, my gun skill, and the slight use of environmental cover to win a game. It's the most basic and down-to-earth BR in the market if you ask me, and I'm cool with that. It's easy to jump into, and in terms of skill gap, there is some, but it wouldn't be like jumping into Fortnite for the first time ever, where you're just trying to learn the fastest way to build a 1x1 for some slight cover, and then a soccer skin World Cup qualifier comes to your right and blasts you into next week from atop his Eiffel Tower look-alike before you could even bring up your edit button. I know it's not everybody's cup of tea, but in terms of the BR genre, I think the Treyarch has something honestly pretty golden on their hands when you think about a game in the way that we just described it. Easy to enter into, not all that much in terms of skill gap other than using your aim and say maybe some environmental cover. And when you develop something like that, scrapping it after just 1 year seems a little crazy. But anyways, not to get carried away, but Blackout being free to play already, I think that again, that's good foreshadowing of what's to come, and maybe the longevity of it can potentially help boost it. And again, even with that theory that it returns in conjunction with Infinity Ward's title this year, and then returning as a third or fourth mode in the alleged 2020 COD developed by Treyarch, that bridge year would be a great way to keep it alive and possibly even grow in that year off. But other than that, I end up seeing that the second best option here is multiplayer. This, to me, if we're breaking down things that could be free to play, would be a gamble, but also would be the most likely to bring the best returns. While we do have awesome modes in the way every year of, say, campaign, minus Black Ops 4, co-op in the way of zombies from Black Ops 4, World War II, Infinite Warfare, Black Ops 3, things like Extinction, and other things that have made their mark on the test of time, like Spec Ops and things like that, those things are all very cool. But MP definitely brings in globally the most player counts and also the most frequent returns to that game mode. If MP were to go free to play, I definitely think this would garner the most traction possible for that specific mode, which of course naturally can be said, but with the largest numbers of return already in terms of recurring player bases, that's something that if you end up opening that up to the masses as just simply a free to download thing, well, it would definitely have the biggest yield on that return value. And therefore, maybe you end up getting more in-game sales, more DLC sales, and so on and so forth. But the thing that gets me with this is that this would then directly tie in with the mention of Kotaku's quote of offering a free-to-play component for this year's new Modern Warfare title. As well, Blackout could theoretically be free-to-play alongside the title from IW this year. It wouldn't be directly associated with the game, if that makes sense. Unless it's its own in-house developed game mode, it really wouldn't be a part of that title that Infinity Ward is putting out later this fall. But instead, it would be something free to play of a component alongside that. So when we take a look at it, MP would be that actual associated with the game mode that theoretically could be free to play. Again, all in theory, as with all of this, but it would be something that would be tethered directly to that project. And with the wording directly tying it to Infinity Ward's project, it certainly is curious. Ultimately though, if it is MP that is for free, one would imagine also that the rest of the game for theoretically campaign and the yet to be revealed co-op mode would go down in price, considering the same thing happened with the Battle Edition for PC on Black Ops 4 that included MP and Blackout. That said, let's talk about the last thing that I think is a possible discussion point here for this, being that maybe it's the full game. Now, this is based off the wording, and just knowing how Activision ticks seems like the least likely and a stretch of the imagination, but just for the sake of covering the bases, let's discuss. Why it could happen is, well, the industry is making a push into free-to-play heavy. You're seeing a lot of games go free-to-play, a lot of different things, at least with components of free-to-play, and that's mainly to open up the game to as many players as possible, and then making the money back in the game via microtransactions. And we already see this being tested in Black Ops 4 to an extent, which brings me to the next point, is that the model itself was allegedly being tested for this exact reason. Now, I definitely think that we'd end up seeing a hell of a lot of microtransactions peddled in the game if it went free to play, but at the same time, the entry barrier would be literally zero, which is also a good thing. But truth be told, I don't think this is the most likely, and here's why. Activision has always been money-oriented, and from the very beginnings of the franchise and how CEO of Activision Blizzard actually had a quote saying they'll take the fun out of gaming to the clear and present disconnect with the current state of the industry to not only use a free-to-play DLC model in Black Ops 4, but to also charge another $60 to $100 on top of that to gain entry. Activision has always been about maximizing revenues and keeping their shareholders happy, and in a pure business scenario, that's understandable. But with the gaming industry and where it is going, there also needs to be those adjustments made that are an absolute leap of faith that long-term could help elongate the popularity of the brand and potentially even be fruitful revenue-wise, but making that jump from an egregious to full-on free-to-play system seems like too big of a gap to clear there. As well, the article itself, which broke the news, ended up discussing the offering of a free-to-play component, and with that last word being the key. If the entire game were to be free-to-play, I would imagine that it would be worded a bit differently and not sound compartmentalized in its description. But that said, I'd love to be wrong. I think that a full free-to-play COD would be great marketing-wise, and long-term, again, would boost the numbers of the game tremendously. I'd still love to see PlayStation publish the recent uptick in downloads from, say, the Blackout free-to-play month and weekends since the launch of Black Ops 4, which again, may be foreshadowing of what's to come, but we'll have to wait and see. Truth be told, though, we'll probably find out actually way sooner rather than later for what the referenced free-to-play component may end up being, whether that be Blackout going free-to-play, MP going free-to-play, the full game going free free to play, or any other number of options that could be out there, because we'll probably know in a couple of days what happens if a reveal does happen. I'd imagine there would be something this week, because next week is Days of Summer for Black Ops 4, and I can't imagine them trying to break the internet with a COD reveal, and then also something that would make them money in the short term conflict on the same day. I can't imagine that happens. Then the week after Days of Summer is E3, so unless they're revealing the game that late, which I don't see likely, this week could be that sweet spot, but we're still waiting on, of course, official confirmation. There are rumors outside of just even that logical explanation that point to this week, but that's all just what it is, rumors. But anyways, that's an important detail, because normally once the game is revealed, pre-orders go up, so we'll know a little more in a confirmed manner if any of that is free to play, based off either the idea of seeing pre-order now on the Call of Duty website, or something like pre-register now, which would hint towards free to play. But ultimately, again, this is all pure speculation and something that based off of a very credible source in Jason Schreier, what he's mentioned and where this might go. So while it is speculation for right now, I wanted to put my thoughts out there, because again, maybe in a couple of days time, this is all confirmed. So therefore, this theory could be completely null and void by that point. But love to get your thoughts and feedback down there in the comment section down below. Is there anything in particular with this you're hoping to see free to play? Do you think it could be any number of these things discussed? Do you think it's something we didn't discuss? Whatever it is, feel free to let me know your thoughts in the comments. But hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure you drop a like down below. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure you guys subscribe so you don't miss a single thing regarding all things Call of Duty, Black Ops 4, whatever Infinity War's next title is, and of course, all things in between. So if you enjoyed that, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a single thing. And if you guys also want to follow me over on Twitter and Instagram, those are the best place to get connected outside of YouTube. I can live on both those. So if you guys want to strike up a conversation, ask me a question, whatever it may be, that link is down there in the description below. Well, that's it. Now, thank you guys all so much for watching. My name is Espresso. I'll see you guys later. Take care and peace.